वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। साक्षात् कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। 27th class. You can repeat after me. Vasudevendra Yogindram
वासुदेवेन्द्र योगीन्द्रम्
नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम्
ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम्
मुक्षूणां हितार्थाय
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय
तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते।
तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते।
साधनचतुष्टयसम्पन्नाधिकारिणाम्
साधनचतुष्टयसम्पन्नाधिकारिणाम्
साधनभूतम्
मोक्षसाधनभूतम्
तत्त्वविवेकप्रकारम्
तत्त्वविवेकप्रकारम्
वक्ष्यामः। साधनचतुष्टयं किम्?
साधनचतुष्टयं किम्?
नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
कामुत्रार्थफलभोगविरागः
मुत्रार्थफलभोगविरागः
समाधिषट्कसम्पत्तिः
समाधिषट्कसम्पत्तिः
मुक्षुत्वं चेति
मुमुक्षुत्वं चेति
नित्यवस्तु विवेकः कः?
नित्यानित्यवस्तु विवेकः कः?
नित्यवस्तु एकं ब्रह्म
नित्यवस्तु एकं ब्रह्म
तद्व्यतिरिक्तं सर्वम् अनित्यम्।
तद्व्यतिरिक्तं सर्वम् अनित्यम्।
अयम् एव नित्यानित्यवस्तु विवेकः।
अयम् एव नित्यानित्यविवेकः विवेकः।
विरागः कः?
विरागः कः?
स्वर्गभोगेषु इच्छाराहित्यम्।
स्वर्गभोगेषु इच्छाराहित्यम्।
समाधिषट्कसम्पत्तिः का?
समाधिषट्कसम्पत्तिः का?
शमः दमः उपरमः
शमः दमः उपरमः
तितिक्षा श्रद्धा समाधानं च इति।
तितिक्षा श्रद्धा समाधानं च इति।
शमः कः?
शमः कः?
मनोनिग्रहः
मनोनिग्रहः
दमः कः?
दमः कः?
चक्षुरादि इन्द्रियनिग्रहः
चक्षुरादि इन्द्रियनिग्रहः
परमः कः?
परमः कः?
स्वधर्मानुष्ठानम् एव
स्वधर्मानुष्ठानम् एव
तितिक्षा का?
तितिक्षा का?
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखादि सहिष्णुत्वम्
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखादि सहिष्णुत्वम्
श्रद्धा कीदृशी
श्रद्धा कीदृशी
गुरुवेदान्तवाक्येषु विश्वासः श्रद्धा
गुरुवेदान्तवाक्येषु विश्वासः श्रद्धा
समाधानं किम्
समाधानं किम्
चित्तैकाग्रता
चित्तैकाग्रता
क्षुत्वं किम्
मोक्षं किम्
मोक्षो मे भूयात् इति इच्छा
मोक्षो मे भूयात् इति इच्छा
एतत् साधनचतुष्टयम्
एतत् साधनचतुष्टयम्
ततः तत्त्वविवेकस्य
विवेकस्य
अधिकारिणः भवन्ति
अधिकारिणः भवन्ति।
Okay, you can mute your mic now. We are discussing the topic of sadhana chatushtaya. The Shishya asked, what is this Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha, the first qualification, about which we have been discussing the last two classes in detail. What is Nitya? Nityam is that which is always there. That is called Nityam. That which is always. That which is not subject to time. That which doesn't have birth and therefore no death. That which exists in all the three periods of time. That which is timeless. That is called Nityam. Yat trikale tishtati tat Nityam. When it is in all three periods of time, it was in the past, now in the present, and it will be in the future. It doesn't have time. It is not bound by time. That is Nitya. An opposite to that is Anityam. Nityam, Anityam. That understanding that which is Nityam distinctly from that which is not Nityam, that is called Viveka. Is there anything such thing called Nityam? Yes. Shastram says, yes, Asti Eva. Ekam Brahma Asti. It is Nitya Vastu. The Vastu which is Nityam is there. How many? Ekam Brahma. Brahma. If it is Nitya, then what is Anityam? Can there be another Nityam? No. Ekam Brahma says only Brahma is Nitya. Everything else, Tad Vyatiriktam, Sarvam, Anityam Eva. It means all the Anitya, all the things, all the experiences, Sarvam, the word Sarvam, it denotes all the known things, all the unknown things, includes everything. When you say everything, everything means that which you know plus that which you don't know. That covers everything, Sarvam. Jnata Vishaya, Ajnata Vishaya. That is Sarvam. Therefore, everything else, everything which are available for your experience in the form of objects, in the form of the persons or situations, anything, they are all anityam, means they are bound by time. Because they are anityam, therefore, they don't have independent existence. Because anityam, a pot doesn't have independent existence. A pot is because the clay is. Pot is anityam. Clay is nityam. Bubble is anityam. Foam is anityam. Waves are anityam. But what is nityam? The water is nityam. The water, which is nityam, it's independent. Whereas the waves, the foams, the bubbles, all these are nothing really speaking water only. They look different as though from water in terms of nama and rupa. In just name and form, it appears as though different. And names and forms are anityam. They come and go. Rupam comes, nama comes, and they go away. Therefore, everything else in this Jagat, what you observe, what you experience, they're all bound by time. And to pursue things, to go after things, to go after hunting happiness in this Anitya world, is there anything more foolish than this pursuit of hunting for happiness, hunting for sukham, hunting to gain the permanent thing? Everything is Namarupa. Namarupa is Anitya. And this Anitya Vastu have its ashraya in Nitya Vastu Brahma. Not knowing that, not clearly understanding, we all go after Anitya Vastu, and therefore Anitya Sukham only. If you go after Anitya Vastu, will you get Nitya Sukham? Will you get permanent pleasure, security, happiness, comfort, freedom? You will not get. That is what we do, not knowing. through all the three purushartha, dharma, artha, kama purushartha. What we gain is only anitya sukham. What we gain is anitya sukham, anitya security. Security is not nitya, and it is gives me more and more the sense of limitation. The more and more I enjoy, the more and more I know that I am limited, because any amount of sukham doesn't satisfy me. I always want more. I want more. Therefore, it is very clear the pursuit of the three purushartha, dharmartha, kama, moksha, dharmartha, kama, purushartha, it gives only anityam. It gives only anityam. This is how these pursuits are. We cannot blame these pursuits. This is how these pursuits are. But do we really seek this purushartha only? Through this purushartha, whatever those purushartha can give, do we really seek that? Or through this purushartha, we are we trying to gain that which will make me free forever, which will give me freedom. If not freedom forever, at least the notion of giving, the notion of becoming free from the sense of limitation, that is there in all the three pursuits. That notion we have, but really these three pursuits which are limited cannot give it. But we think we have the notion gaining which I will be free, but it doesn't happen. Therefore, this is the limitation of these three purushartha. And that is what the Veda Purva of the Veda presents. Veda Purva of the Veda presents these three purushartha. Because we are not yet eligible for Vedanta to come to the study of the Upanishads. Therefore, Shastram recommends to pursue Veda Purva in the beginning stage of life. Shastram recommends. You want to gain pleasure, you want to enjoy the life, please do. No issue in that. Pursue the three purushartha in keeping with the Shastram, and Veda Purva recommends it. But after some time, after analyzing the experiences, when we become sufficiently matured, then we start thinking. That thinking is called Viveka. So Viveka is the thinking. The moment you start thinking, is this Nityam? Is this what I really want in life? There your Viveka starts functioning. Therefore, the Shastram presents that in a way, in a technical way. Nityavastu Ekam Brahma. Later we will be seeing what is Brahma. What is Brahma? Now Brahma is that which is unlimited. That which is unlimited is denoted by the word Brahma by the Shastra. Not subject to limitation. Nityam means not subject to time, free from time. It's not limited. And what is that? It is Brahma. And that Brahma is you. That Shastram will tell later. But now it says, Ekam Brahma Asti. It is only one. That Brahma alone is there. Everything else is Nitya. And the same idea is presented in the Gita in the beginning itself. When Arjuna was totally shattered in the battlefield and offered himself to the feet of Lord Krishna. So far, Arjuna had been treating Krishna as his friend only, as his driver, charioteer only. But now, in the midst of the battlefield, having seen his own kith and kin standing right in front, he surrendered himself and wanted Krishna to teach him. Now the friend Krishna becomes Bhagavan Krishna. Arjuna discovered the friend to be his guru. Therefore, his friend became his guru, and the guru is Bhagavan Krishna. He taught. In the beginning of the Upadesha itself, Bhagavan Krishna says, Tatvevaham Jatanasam Tattvam Neme Janadipahu Nachayvana Bhavishyamaha Sarve Vayamatah Param. It is not that you were not in the past. It is not that you will not be in the future. It is not that you were not in the past. In fact, he uses Bhagavachanam. We were not in the past. And it is not that we will not be in the future too. It means what? It means we all were in the past and we will continue to be in the future. Therefore, 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 we, who are we then? We are that which is Nityam. We are that which is Nityam. This Shariram comes and goes. This Shariram with its sense organs and the mind, they come and go. But that which doesn't come and doesn't go, which is there all the time, that is you. In the beginning of the Upadesham itself, Bhagavan Krishna, he drops a bombshell. He gives a teaching, directly gives. The same thing Shastram presents. Shastram presents now in a Pratama Purusha. Pratama Purusha means third person. Brahma Asti. That Brahma is myself, Atma. That is the teaching. That is going to come later. The Shastram will slowly unfold the teaching. That is how the Shastram approaches. Shastram approach the topic slowly, one by one. First, making the student understand and accept that Nitya Vastu is there. Now, for him, the Nitya Vastu is located somewhere else. It is because he has the extrovertedness. So far, all through his life, he has been gaining things by effort, by doing things and gaining objects and things which are external, outside. Now, suddenly, if you say everything is you, that may not be convincing to the students. So therefore, it will say as though it is in third person. It is a third person. Therefore, it uses Brahma. Brahma Asti. Asti, the Kriya Padam, third person, Pratama Purusha. Brahma Asti. Then, when you analyze what Brahma is, the reality, the nature of what Brahma is, and the nature of what you is, Brahma is that third person. Brahma is that third person. Tat can be referred to by the word Tat, that Brahma. That is called Tat Pada Vichara. Inquiry into the word Tat, Padam. Tat refers to Brahma. Inquiry into the word Tat. The word Tat referring to Brahma, that is called Tat Pada Vichara. Brahma Asti. Now, Aham Asmi. I am. Inquiring into the nature of Aham. Aham refers to Atma. That's why it is Asmi. Asti, Staha, Santi. We're learning in Sanskritam and we are learnt also. So Asmi. Asmi when it comes to first person, and Asti when it comes to third person. Asmi is Uttama Purusha. Asti is Pratama Purusha. Now, this Asmi, inquiring into Aham, Asmi, Aham, that I am, that is Tvam Pada Vichara. Inquiring into the nature of you, I. Now, Tat Pada Vichara, Tvam Pada Vichara. Having done the inquiry, now we will equate it. Tat Tvam Asi. That is the Tatparyam, that is the teaching, the central teaching of the Shastram. But the Shastram doesn't directly tell. In Gita, Bhagavan he starts giving the Upadesha giving the central teaching of the Gita in the second chapter itself. But generally, Shastram doesn't tell immediately. It slowly it introduces a topic, expands the topic, and then presents the teaching. Even in Gita also it is done. In the beginning, Bhagavan Krishna gives the teaching, the whole second chapter. The whole second chapter is, if you want to understand Gita, the second chapter is enough. The second chapter is the condensed form of the whole Gita. From the third chapter onwards, it's only an expansion. Whatever discussed in second chapter, the topic is expanded into 18 chapters. That flexibility is there with any topic. Even Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka, we started 2 classes before. Now we are again dwelling on the same topic. It can be expanded. It can be more and more can be said about the topic. But we have to limit it at some point and then go to the next topic. So now we understand what is Nitya Vastu. Nitya Vastu Ekam and Sarvam Yatiriktam, everything, all objects, people, situation, and the relationships. So whatever things which are included in this world as well as in the other world, everything is Anityam. Why Anityam? Because it has a problem of limitations. When it has a problem of limitations, therefore it cannot solve my problem. My problem is I don't want to be limited. That is not the problem. In fact, that is what I want. I want to be free from any limitations. That is what my expectation is. That is what I want. That is what I have been searching through all the Purusharthas. But everything being Anityam, it cannot give me freedom. And the Shastram says Brahma is there, Ishvara is there, Bhagavan is there. Now the Bhagavan is as though presented as the third person, Paroksha. It is Paroksha. Later we will discuss that Paroksha Brahma is Aparoksha Atma iti. That will be the teaching. And that gaining that Paroksha Brahma, now let us take Brahma as Paroksha. It is Paroksha, it is Pratama Purusha, it is something which is to be gained, indirect. Now, this Paroksha Brahma is free from bondage. It is free from the sense of limitations. And gaining that Brahma will give me moksha. Because Brahma is free. It is Purnaha, it is complete. It is free from any limitations. And I also want freedom. I don't want to be bound by anything. I want to be free from limitations. And since Brahma is of that nature, now I want that Brahma. So this discerning is called Viveka. How do you gain this Viveka? That we saw. This Viveka can be gained by Karma Yoga, Karma Yogena. This Viveka is gained. If we have this Viveka, then the further other necessary qualifications will fall in place. It will come one by one. Then if we have the Sadhana Chatushtayam, then you become an Adhikari Purusha. You become a Yogya Purusha for the pursuit of Brahma. Moksha. Brahma is moksha. Brahma is unlimited. It is not bound when we say it is moksha. It is freedom. So that freedom I want. And for that freedom, I have to prepare myself. For that preparation, Karma Yoga is a means. Karma Yoga is a method. Karma Yoga is a method for gaining this Viveka. And Veda Purva Bhaga deals with karma. Therefore, Veda Purva Bhaga deals with how to get Viveka. So karma yogena vivekaha, and Veda Purva deals with karma. Therefore, one has to follow the karma as prescribed by the Shastram. You have to do the karma as prescribed by the Shastram to gain certain maturity, to gain the mental composure. Karma yoga is the technique by which you by which the mind becomes calm, by which mind becomes calm, and in and through all the activities. Even though you may be engaging different activities, but you will not be agitated. Your mind will be calm, and you will analyze and understand the limitation of the experiences which the objects of the world give. This only karma yoga can give. Therefore, karma kartavyam. Everybody has to do the karma. No grudging, no grudging of karma. Karma is a tool, it is a means doing which we gain that pakvata, that maturity. That is why it is taught elaborately in the Gita, Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is very important. Pursuing, doing karma with the intention to gain moksha. That is called Karma Yoga. It's a simple karma means work, action. Any action cannot become Karma Yoga. But if you add this attitude of gaining Bhagavan through karma, that same karma become karma yoga. Any action what you do, even if you are walking, the walking also can become a karma yoga if you do with the attitude of doing pradakshina to Bhagavan. Bhagavan is everywhere, so even walking can also become a karma yoga. Even eating also can become a karma yoga. You eat when you offer food. You have to imagine that you are offering food to Bhagavan. So any karma what you do, that becomes the karma yoga. It all depends on the attitude. So this cultivating this attitude, that is important. That is what karma yoga is. Karma yoga is cultivating the attitude. That attitude gives me the space, gives me the maturity to pursue moksha. Therefore, it is recommended. You cannot run away from karma. Running away from karma, that will not help us in gaining the jnana and therefore moksha. Therefore, Shastram clearly says, karma yogena vivekaha. The means for gaining is karma. Do karma. By karma, can we gain moksha? No, we don't say that. By karma, moksha cannot be gained. Why? Because karma is done. Karma is done. Moksha is not done. Moksha cannot be done. You cannot work to gain moksha. If you can gain moksha by action, then moksha is not moksha anymore. Moksha will be, because moksha is freedom, it is not limited. How can you gain the unlimited through limited karma? Any karma is going to be limited only. Why limited? Because you are doing karma through your body, mind, sense organs, and they are limited. Therefore, any karma is going to be limited only. Through limited karma, how can you gain the unlimited Brahma? Not possible. Therefore, through karma, moksha is not gained. Therefore, chittasya shuddhaye karma natu vastupalabdhaye. Viveka Chudamani, Bhagavad Pada says, karma is only for chitta shuddhi. It is for the purification of the mind. Why the mind has to be purified? Because now the mind is agitated. Now the mind is not free. it has raga, it has dvesha, it has kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. All the shat pripus are there, and it is not calm, it is not composed, it gets easily irritated. With such mind, how can you gain Brahma? To gain Brahma, the Brahma being great, unlimited, it is Purnam. Brahma is Purnam, completely free. You also have to gain, yeah, you also have to be relatively Purna, relatively free to gain Brahma. Only when you are relatively free, relatively adequate, then only gaining Brahma is possible. Therefore, that relative Purnatvam, adequacy, completeness, relative adequacy, that completeness, relative freedom. How do you gain that? When you are free from all such emotions, all such emotions. When you are emotional, you are not with yourself. The things in the world can take you for a ride. A small thing can irritate you. So when you are not with yourself, when you are in the grip of the mind and its emotion agitations, you are not free. When you are not free, how can you gain freedom? When you are not at peace, how can you realize the peace, gain the peace? Not possible. Therefore, to gain that, to gain that relative freedom, relative adequacy, relative comfort, relative peace, karma is important. Karma is important. By karma, you cannot gain the absolute, but by karma, you can be relatively free. When you are relatively free, only then you understand the absolute freedom. Therefore, chittasya shuddhaye karma. Karma is only for chitta shuddhi, not for gaining Brahma, moksha. To moksha praptaye. Why? Another reason also can be given. Moksha is not something you accomplish new. It's not a new thing to be accomplished. It is already accomplished. It is already accomplished. If it is something to be accomplished by karma, if it is something to be accomplished by karma, that what you accomplish in terms of time and place, it is going to be limited because it is accomplished in time, in place. Because it is accomplished by karma, therefore it is going to be limited. And if it is limited, it cannot be moksha. Therefore, if it is not accomplishable by karma, then what could it be? It could be already accomplished. But I don't know that. That is called ajnanam. That is ajnanam. I don't know that. Therefore, to remove ajnanam, to remove ignorance, what karma you require? Do you require karma to remove ajnanam? You don't know Sanskritam. Samskrita ajnanam is there. What karma you do to gain Samskrita jnanam? Do you do 100 times pranayama? Or you go round about the circumambulate the temple 1,000 times, you get Samskrita jnanam? By what karma, by what action you gain Samskrita jnanam? You have to study. You have to gain the jnanam. Any jnanam is like that. Any jnanam only can remove ajnanam. Ajnanam of any topic can go only by jnanam. Jnanam alone removes ajnanam. And here also, ajnanam is ajnanam. Because of ajnanam, the moksha is not gained. Moksha is also not gained, means gaining is not is not physical gaining. Gaining is knowing. Gaining is understanding. Because I don't know the what Brahma is moksha, and that Brahma is free, complete freedom, and that Brahma I don't know, and it is not accomplished by karma. and Brahma I don't know, that ajnanam is the obstacle, it's the impediment. It's a impediment. Therefore, to gain Brahma, what we have to do? Remove that ajnanam. And that for the removal of ajnanam, any karma required? No, karma cannot remove it. Karma has no interference in gaining Brahma and therefore moksha. Why? Because moksha is already accomplished. It's already me, myself. That I don't know because ajnanam. Therefore, what is the role of karma here? No role. Karma has no role in gaining moksha. Then why do you ask to do karma? The same question Arjuna also asked. Karma is for the sake of chitta shuddhi. Karma is for the sake of chitta shuddhi. For chitta shuddhi, you have to do karma. For jnana yogyata, you have to do karma. Jnana yogyata is required for gaining jnana. And for jnana yogyata, karma is required. This is the order. Karma is done for gaining the jnana yogyata. Jnana yogyata is sadhana chatushtaya sampanna. Sadhana chatushtaya sampannam. Sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. That is required. That gained by karma yoga. And when you have sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, then you become eligible to understand what moksha is. Therefore, the pursuit here is praptasya prapti. It is praptasya prapti. Gaining the already gained. That is a pursuit. That is the moksha pursuit. Apraptasya praptihi. Gaining the not gained. That is through karma. That is through the karma. Therefore, dharma, artha, kama, these three purusharthas are apraptasya praptihi. Gaining the not gained. Gaining the not gained. Because they deal with the objects, the things, the persons, the situations, and that you want to gain, therefore you do karma. Therefore, karmana apraptasya praptihi, whereas jnanena praptasya praptihi, gaining the already gained is only by jnanam. Therefore, moksha is what vishaya? It is paravishaya or aparavishaya? It is paravishaya. Param chet jnatavyam. Aparam chet praptavyam. If it is aparavishaya, then it has to be gained. You have to work for it. If it is paravishaya, then it has to be known. It is a subject matter for knowing, subject matter for understanding. Therefore, karma has no role. But still we have to do karma. Why? Because it gives me the preparation to pursue the study of Shastram, understanding and gaining moksha. Now, after this Viveka Vichara, then comes the next topic, which already I introduced. Viraga. Viraga means absence. Absence of what? Absence of raga. Absence of longing. Freedom from longing for the enjoyments. Enjoyments here, in this world, as well as in Swarga. Swarga Bhogeshu. Swarga. Ihaloka, Swargaloka. Both. In both the places, freedom from longing for the enjoyments. That is called viraga. This viraga, otherwise called vairagyam, it is the natural consequence of viveka. If you have viveka, then the next step will be vairagya. Because through viveka, you understand what is nitya and anitya. And now, if you have the clear understanding, then you will not go after anitya vastu. You will not go after anitya vastu. Nitya vastu, anitya vastu is there. The choice between them, there's a choice. And the choice depends on your viveka, discrimination. And the choice depends on your discrimination. Nitya Vastu give me Sukham. Anitya Vastu gives me Dukkham. This is Viveka. And if you don't have this Viveka, you will imagine you will imagine that Anitya Vastu will give me Sukham. That is lack of discrimination. And that lack of discrimination is the cause for the lack of Vairagya. Lack of discrimination is the cause for the lack of the Vairagya. So therefore, if you have Viveka, then Vairagya will be a natural consequence. The dispassion for the undesirable things, it's natural. If it is natural when you have the knowledge of the undesirable things. Therefore, if you ask what is the means for gaining Vairagya, it is Viveka. That is why Viveka is presented first. So the Viveka is required. Viveka and Vairagya. Vairagya is refraining from the pursuit of or from refraining from gaining the Anitya Vastu, Anitya Sukham. Understanding that they will not give me Nitya Sukham. So therefore, you withdraw yourself from the pursuit. That is called Vairagya. And what Vairagya is, I'll explain that the beautiful story. I like this story very much. It is in Mahabharata. It is in Mahabharata. The Mahabharata, Stri Parva, this story, it was told by Vidura to Dhritarashtra. It's a very beautiful story. There was a person. The person, he was passing through a forest. It was a huge the forest, and the forest was infested with terrible creatures. A lot of jantus were there, looking very terrible. And he was walking alone in the forest. And when he was walking, he heard the roaring of tiger, elephants, and other beings. So he was so frightened. He was so frightened, and asking for help, he started running here and there. He could not find the way to come out from the forest. So then, when he was running here and there, then to find a shelter, then he fell into a huge pit. He fell into a huge pit. And the mouth of that pit, it was covered with the dense creepers. So when he fell into the pit, he got entangled in the cluster of the creepers. So when he got caught and he was hanging in the pit like a jackfruit, in the huge tree. He was standing, he was hanging. His feet was upwards and his head was downwards. His feet got entangled in the creeper and his head was downwards towards the bottom of the pit. When he was in that position, then he saw a huge snake within the pit, ready to swallow this person. Huge snake was there in the pit. Then he saw a huge elephant near the mouth of the pit. The elephant had 6 faces and 12 legs. It's a different terrible creature. Elephant, it had 6 faces and 12 legs. And that elephant slowly approached the pit. Meanwhile, a number of these black and white rats, black and white rats, they were eating the roots of the creeper. They were eating the roots. It means the person is slowly losing the grip of the creeper and going down. When he goes down, huge snake is there waiting to devour him. And at the mouth of the bed, elephant is there. Not only this, when he fell into the pit, he hit a honeycomb. What will happen if you hit a honeycomb? A large bees, a swarm of bees just approached him and started stinging him because he disturbed the honeycomb. So they approached in large numbers and to bite him. When he was in such a situation, now he is standing upside down. Inside, the huge snake is waiting. Outside, an elephant is there. And some more descriptions are there in that story. The tiger waiting at the mouth of the pit. A lot of other descriptions are given in the story. But you can understand the predicament of the person. And he has hit the honeycomb also. So honeybees have started stinging him, biting him now. Now, in this situation, since he disturbed the honeycomb, a few drops of honey sprinkled below. And this person who is in such a predicament, such a distressful situation, he wanted to taste the honey. Therefore, he stuck out his tongue and wanted to taste. You can imagine what sort of person is he. In that situation also, he wanted to enjoy the honey drops. Enjoying the honey drops is nothing but the enjoying the pleasure of the senses. This is a situation we are in the world. This is the situation. I'll show you that picture. This is, I got recently the story. The story, this is a picture of that story. In this predicament, that person, he wants to enjoy the honey. The honey represents the pleasure of the world, the pleasure of the senses. And the snake waiting at the bottom of the pit, ready to devour him, it is death. Maranam is waiting. And the black and white rats, which were sitting at the top and eating the roots, they were nothing but the day and night. Day and night, they are passing. Slowly, life is going. But this person is so busy in the pursuit of the pleasure of the senses. And death is ready at the bottom, the form of snake, ready to devour him. And another description also was a tiger. Tiger near the pit. That represents the samsara, that the difficulties, the difficulties which a person had to encounter when he lives in samsara. So, in this situation also, the person wants to enjoy. That shows the clear lack of discrimination. That shows the clear lack of discrimination and is obsessive nature to enjoy the pleasure of the senses. Therefore, what is required is we need sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. This jnanam is not for the person who are grossly engaged in the pursuit of the pleasure of the senses. In such a situation, can anyone go after the pleasure of the objects of the world? Death is there waiting to devour us anytime. At the same time, we are so busy in the world, doing a lot of things, pursuing a lot of things, thinking that it will give us a pleasure. It may give pleasure, but it will be only a temporary pleasure, anitya. That is why we said, tad vyatiriktam sarvam anityam. What is nityam? Nityam is only Bhagavan. And that Bhagavan is also waiting that He is also giving his hand to help him, but the person is not ready. That unreadiness, unpreparedness, unpreparedness, with that unpreparedness, a person cannot pursue the study of Shastram and gain moksha. Therefore, for moksha pursuit, we need sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. That is why it is emphasized so much in the beginning. But you may ask, if we are not sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha, then what shall we do? Study Shastra. Then also you study Shastra. Even if you don't have this jnana yogyata, then also you can study Shastra. Why? Because the study of Shastram gives you the jnana yogyata. Because the Shastram is going to present you, the Shastram is going to make you think, make you discriminate, make you understand. Therefore, the study of Shastram itself will give you the pakvata, the maturity. The experiences of the world will give you maturity. With the available maturity, with the available knowledge, what we have, in addition to that, if we pursue Shastram, then it will give Purna Yogyata, complete Adhikaritva. In fact, there is nothing called complete or yeah, complete Yogyata. That is, nobody can be called yeah, sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha completely. Nobody can gain those qualifications completely. It is an imaginary, ideal thing. It is an ideal thing, like the ideal gas in chemistry. Ideal gas doesn't exist. But we need to gain those qualities relatively. We need to gain those quality in a, relatively to a large extent, so that we can pursue the moksha. For moksha pursuit, we need relatively a large extent of those qualifications. We cannot wait to gain those qualifications in total and then pursue. It cannot happen. Purna Adhikaritvam doesn't exist. Nobody is a Purna Adhikari. Everybody has got certain Adhikaritvam. With whatever Adhikaritvam we have, with that Adhikaritvam, we have to pursue. Pursue the study of Shastram. And the Shastram itself will give you the Jnana Yogyata. That Adhikaritvam it gives. And by the time, after some time, when we keep reading, studying Shastram, after some time, the sometime could be 5 years or 10 years or even the whole life, doesn't matter. But I am towards my goal. That is important. I am not deviated from my goal. I am not deviated from what I want in life. That attitude is important. If that attitude, if you pursue the study of Shastram, the Shastram itself will bless you with Jnana Yogyata and Moksha. Therefore, Viveka is important to start with. And the consequence of Viveka, that is Vairagya, that is the next thing, it is very important. And that is Vairagya Shatakam, written by Bhartrihari. There he presents the impermanent nature of the pleasure of the things which a human being pursue in the world. He presents the samsara in a beautiful way. Every verse, if you take every verse, when you read, you will understand how impermanent is the anitya this anitya jagat, and how foolish is this pursuit of this anitya sukham, that he presents beautifully. Sometimes he criticizes also. But we have to understand that criticism is not just for the sake of criticizing things. It is to create a vairagya in us. It is to create a vairagya. We have seen this vairagya should be born of maturity. It should not be born of hatred. It should not be born of disgust. not Virasa Vairagyam. It should be born of maturity. Sometimes to create this Vairagya, the author may present an ugly picture of the samsara. But that is only to create a Vairagya. Only that much. We should not extend further. Because nothing in the world is subject to criticism. Everything being what it is, it's all the creation of Bhagavan. Nothing need to be criticized. It's because if you criticize then, and it creates unnecessary guilt in you. The pursuit of the the pleasure is not wrong as long as it is complies with dharma. Entertaining desire is not wrong if it is keeping with dharma. Our Shastram allows the entertaining of the desires which are in keeping with dharma. Therefore, we need to understand when the samsara is criticized, and samsara is presented negatively, we have to understand what it wants to teach. Only the tatparyam we need to understand. There also we need viveka. In understanding what it teaches, there also we need viveka. Viveka is required all the way. Not only as part of this sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, it is viveka all the way it is required. The one who has viveka is a viveki. He is called dhiraha. So dhiraha purushaha. It's very important. That viveka is very important. And the viveka is there, then vairagya is there. Then after vairagya, does it stop there? No. Then comes the shamadhi shatka sampattihi and mumukshutva. All this sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, all these topics are scattered all over the Upanishads. Now, all over the Upanishad, these topics are scattered, and the sampradaya, the teachers like Shankara Bhagavad-pada, they collect these topics from different Upanishads, which in different Upanishads, and wherever it is present in the Upanishads and in different topics, they collect and they present. Upanishad do not present these topics in a very systematic way. Only the teacher, the acharya in the sampradaya, who has the knowledge of the entire shastram, they understand what it is and they present this as sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. You will not find the word sadhana chatushtaya sampatti when you study Upanishads. But you will find here and there the topic nitya will be there, vairagyam will be there, nirvedam. The word nirvedam sometimes it is used. Sampradaya, the teachers of sampradaya, they understand that, and for the sake of the shishya, the students, they present in an orderly way, like how the Tattva Bodha presented. First Anubandha Chatushtayam, then Sadhana Chatushtayam, then slowly you will be seeing what is the Jiva Swarupa, Ishvara Swarupa, Jiveshvara Aikyam, then Jivan Mukti, and all those topics will be presented systematically. That is what is done by the Prakarana Grantha. Tattva Bodha being a Prakarana Grantha, here the Bhagavad-pada, he presents a topic in a systematic way. So, under this topic, sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, the first one is viveka, then comes vairagya, then shamadhi shatka sampatti. That we will see. What is shamaha, what is damaha, paratahi, we will see in detail. It is not just reading the definitions, but we have to discuss a lot to understand what it is. That we will do. We will do in the next class. So we stop here. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.